Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Abstract. Star Wars: The Force Awakens is a 2015 American epic space opera film produced, co-written and directed by J.J. Abrams. It is the first installment in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, following the story of Return of the Jedi, 1983, and is the seventh episode of the 9-part Skywalker saga. It was produced by Lucasfilm and Abrams' production company Bad Robot Productions, and was distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. The film's ensemble cast includes Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Lupita Nyong'o, Andy Serkis, Donald Gleason, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, and Max von Sydow. Set 30 years after Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens follows Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, and Han Solo's search for Luke Skywalker in their fight in the Resistance, led by General Leia Organa and veterans of the Rebel Alliance, against Kylo Ren and the First Order, a successor to the Galactic Empire. The film was announced after the Walt Disney Company's acquisition of Lucasfilm in October 2012. And was the first Star Wars film to not extensively involve franchise creator George Lucas, who only served as a creative consultant in the early stages. The film was produced by Abrams, his longtime collaborator Brian Burke, and Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan, co-writer of the original trilogy films The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and Return of the Jedi, 1983. Rewrote an initial script by Michael Arndt. John Williams, the composer for the previous 6 films, returned to compose the film's score. Filming began in April 2014 in Abu Dhabi and Iceland, with principal photography also taking place in Ireland and at Pinewood Studios in England, and wrapped in November 2014. The Force Awakens was widely anticipated, and Disney backed the film with extensive marketing campaigns. It premiered in Los Angeles on December 14, 2015, before its wide release in the United States on December 18. The film received positive reviews for its screenplay, direction, acting performances, particularly those of Ford, Driver, Ridley, and Boyega, musical score, visual effects, editing, and action sequences, although some critics found it derivative of the original trilogy. The film broke various box office records and became, unadjusted for inflation, the highest-grossing installment in the franchise, the highest-grossing film in North America, the highest-grossing film of 2015, and the third highest-grossing film of all time, the fourth highest-grossing film as of December 2019, with a worldwide gross of over $2 billion and a net profit of over $780 million. Among films box office adjusted for inflation, it is the top-grossing sequel of all time in North America. It received 5 nominations at the 88th Academy Awards and 4 nominations at the 69th British Academy Film Awards, where it won the award for Best Special Visual Effects. It was followed by The Last Jedi in 2017 and The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. Plot: 30 years after the Galactic Civil War, the First Order has risen from the fallen Galactic Empire and seeks to eliminate the New Republic. The Resistance, backed by the Republic and led by General Leia Organa, opposes the First Order. Leia searches for her brother, Luke Skywalker, who has gone missing, on the desert planet Jakku. Resistance pilot Poe Dameron receives a map to Luke's location from Lor San Tekka. Stormtroopers commanded by Kylo Ren raid the village and capture Poe. While Kylo kills San Tekka, Poe's droid, BB-8, escapes with the map and encounters a scavenger named Rey. Kylo tortures Poe using the Force and learns of BB-8. Stormtrooper FN-2187, disillusioned by the First Order, frees Poe, and they escape in a stolen TIE fighter. Upon learning that FN-2187 has no other name, Poe gives him the name of Finn, as they head to Jakku to retrieve BB-8. They are shot down by a First-Order Star Destroyer in crash land. Finn survives and assumes that Poe died in the crash. He encounters Rey and BB-8, but the First Order tracks them and launches an airstrike. Rey, Finn, and BB-8 steal the Millennium Falcon and escape the planet. The Falcon is discovered and boarded by Han Solo and Chewbacca. Gang seeking to settle debts with Han attack, but the group escape in the Falcon. At the First Order Starkiller base, a planet converted into a superweapon, Supreme Leader Snoke allows General Hux to use the weapon for the first time. Snoke questions Kylo's ability to deal with emotions relating to his father. Han Solo, who Kylo states means nothing to High Monsieur, aboard the Falcon. Han determines that BB-8's map is incomplete. He then explains that Luke attempted to rebuild the Jedi Order but exiled himself when an apprentice turned to the dark side, destroyed the temple, and slaughtered the other apprentices. The crew travels to the planet Takodana and meets with Cantina owner Maz Kanata, who offers assistance getting BB-8 to the Resistance. Rey is drawn by the Force to a secluded vault, where she finds the lightsaber once belonging to Luke and his father, Anakin Skywalker. She experiences disturbing visions and flees into the woods. Confused and terrified, Maz gives Finn the lightsaber for safekeeping. Starkiller Base destroys the New Republic and its fleet. The First Order attacks Takodana in search of BB-8. Han, Chewbacca, and Finn are saved by Resistance X-Wing fighters led by Poe, who survived the crash. Leia arrives at Takodana with C-3PO and reunites with Han. Meanwhile, Kylo captures Rey and takes her to Starkiller Base, but she resists his mind-reading attempts. Snoke orders Kylo to bring Rey to High Monsieur, discovering she can use the Force. Rey escapes using a Jedi mind trick on a guard. At the Resistance base on Dakar, BB-8 finds R2-D2, who had been inactive since Luke's disappearance. As Starkiller Base prepares to fire once more, the Resistance devises a plan to destroy it by attacking its thermal oscillator. Using the Falcon, Han, Chewbacca, and Finn infiltrate the facility, find Rey, and plant explosives. Han confronts Kylo and implores him to abandon the dark side. Kylo seems to consider this, but ultimately refuses and kills his father. Devastated, Chewbacca shoots Kylo and sets off the explosives, allowing Poe to attack and destroy the base's thermal oscillator. The injured Kylo pursues Finn and Rey into the woods. Finn fights Kylo with the lightsaber to protect Rey before Kylo knocks him unconscious. Rey takes the lightsaber and channels the Force to defeat Kylo in a duel. They are then separated by a fissure as the planet's surface begins to splinter. Snoke orders Hux to evacuate and bring Kylo to him to complete his training. Chewbacca rescues Rey and the unconscious Finn, and they escape aboard the Falcon. As the Resistance forces flee, Starkiller Base implodes. On Dakar, Leia, Rey and Chewbacca mourn Han's death. R2-D2 awakens and reveals the rest of the map, which Rey uses to find the oceanic planet Arch-2 in the Falcon. On Arch-2, Rey finds Luke atop a cliff on a remote island. Without a word, she presents him with his father's lightsaber. Cast: Tim Rose and Mike Quinn reprised their respective roles as Admiral Akbar and Nine Nunbi from Return of the Jedi. Kip Singh Rotich returns as the voice of Nine Nunbi and Eric Bauersfield returns to voice Akbar. This was Bauersfeld's final film role before his death in April 2016. Kenny Baker, originally announced as part of the cast, was credited as consultant for R2-D2, with Jimmy V performing some of the work for R2-D2. Ewan McGregor has an uncredited vocal cameo as Obi-Wan Kenobi in Rey's vision sequence, while archival audio of Frank Oz, Alec Guinness, Hayden Christensen and Ian McDermott as Yoda, Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker and Palpatine, respectively, are also used in the same scene. Oz recorded new dialogue for the film, but it was replaced with pre-existing audio from The Empire Strikes Back. Gwendolyn Christie portrays Captain Phasma. the commander of the First Order's legions of stormtroopers. Dave Chapman and Brian Herring served as puppeteers for BB-8, with Bill Hader and Ben Schwartz credited as vocal consultants. Ken Leung appears as Statura, an admiral in the Resistance. Simon Pegg appears as Unkar Plutt, the junk parts dealer on Jakku. Greg Grunberg plays Temon Snap Wexley, an X-Wing pilot. Kieran Sharp plays Teedo, a scavenger on Jakku who rides a semi-mechanical lugger beast. Jessica Henwick appears as Jess Tester Pava or Jess Tester, an X-Wing pilot. Brian Vernal appears as Balatik, the leader of the Guavian death gang. Yayin Rahian, Iko Uwais, and Sasek Harif Rahman appear as Tarsu Leech, Razu Chinfi, and Krokind Shand, members of the Kanji Club gang, a criminal organization. Warwick Davis appears as Willivan, a tavern dweller in Maz Kanata's castle. Anna Brewster appears as Bazine Nettle, a First Order spy, also at Maz Kanata's castle. Hannah John Carmen appears as a First Order officer. Thomas Brody Sangster and Kate Fleetwood play First Order petty officers, Thanison and Unamo, respectively. Billy Lord, daughter of Carrie Fisher, appears as Connix, a lieutenant in the Resistance. Members of the Resistance include Emin Elliott as Branson, Maisie Richardson Sellers as Core Seller, while Harriet Walter appears as Colonia, the doctor who tends to Chewbacca. Mark Stanley appears as a Knight of Ren. Sebastian Armesto portrays Lieutenant Mataka and Pip Torrens portrays Colonel Kaplan, both serving the First Order. Daniel Craig, Michael Giacchino and Nigel Godrich cameo as stormtroopers. Abrams' assistant, Morgan Dameron, appears as a Resistance officer, while his father, Gerald W. Abrams, appears as Captain Cypress, the film's dialect coach. Andrew Jack appears as Major Emmett of the Resistance. Additionally, Crystal Clark, Pip Anderson, Christina Chong, Miltos Yeralamu, Amy Beth Hargreaves, Leanne Best, Judah Friedlander, and Kevin Smith were cast in minor roles. Abrams has a vocal cameo, singing with Lin-Manuel Miranda on 2 songs, Jabba Flow and Dobra Doompa, performed by Shag Carver, consisting of Abrams, Miranda and musicians. Star Wars, The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels cast and crew members: D. Bradley Baker, Matt Lanter, Tom Kane, Catherine Tabor, Matthew Wood, Sam Witwer, Meredith Salinger, James Arnold Taylor, Dave Filoni, Michael Donovan, Devon Librin, Elle Newlands, Terry Douglas, Robert Stambler, Verona Blue, TJ Falls, Michelle Reachwin, Eugene Bird, Fred Tatasciuri, David Collins, Amanda Foreman, Christopher Scarabozio, Patrick Horrell, Karen Huey, Orly Schuckmacher, Emily Towers, Jonathan Dixon, Kat Sheridan, Salacious Crumb, Mark Dodson, Gavin Sykes and Christian Simpson provided the additional voices in the film. Monsieur Riot Control, Stormtrooper AFN 2199, who calls Finn a traitor during the battle on Takodana, was portrayed by stunt performer Liang Yang and voiced by sound editor David Accord. Production. Star Wars creator George Lucas discussed ideas for a sequel trilogy several times after the conclusion of the original trilogy, but denied any intent to make it. In October 2012, he sold his production company Lucasfilm, and with it the Star Wars franchise, to the Walt Disney Company. Speaking alongside Lucasfilm's new president, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucas said, "I always said I wasn't going to do any more, and that's true. Because I'm not going to do any more. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more." As creative consultant on the film, Lucas attended early story meetings and advised on the details of the Star Wars universe. Among the materials he turned over to the production team were his rough story treatments for episodes VIIIX, which Lucas requested be read only by Kennedy, Bob Iger, Alan F. Horn, and Kevin A. Mayer. Lucas later said Disney had discarded his story ideas and that he had no further involvement with the film. Monsieur Lucas's son Jet told The Guardian that his father was very torn about having sold the rights to the franchise and that his father was there to guide, but that he wants to let it go and become its new generation. The Force Awakens' first screenplay was written by Michael Arndt. Early drafts had Luke appear midway through the film, but Arndt found that every time Luke came in and entered the movie, he just took it over. Suddenly you didn't care about your main character anymore. The writers decided to use Luke as the film's MacGuffin and as something that the protagonist needed to find. Would not appear in person until the final scene. Several directors were considered, including David Fincher, Brad Bird, Jon Favreau, Ben Affleck and Guillermo del Toro. After a suggestion by Steven Spielberg to Kennedy, J.J. Abrams was named director in January 2013, with Lawrence Kasdan and Simon Kinberg as project consultants. Arndt worked on the script for 8 months, but said he needed 18 more, which was more time than Disney or Abrams could give. Hi Monsieur, the production announced Arndt's exit from the project on October 24, 2013, and Kasdan and Abrams took over script duties. Abrams expressed relief that the release date was announced for December 2015 instead of a previously discussed summer release. He and Kasdan planned the story while walking in Santa Monica, New York City, Paris and London. The first draft was completed in 6 weeks. Abrams said the key to the film was to return to the roots of the first Star Wars film and be based more on emotion than explanation. In January 2014, Abrams confirmed that the script was complete. In April 2014, Lucasfilm clarified that episodes VIIX would not feature storylines from the Star Wars expanded universe, though other elements could be included. As with the TV series Star Wars Rebels, Abrams stated that he purposely withheld some plot elements from The Force Awakens, such as Rey and Finn's last names and backgrounds. Kennedy admitted that we haven't mapped out every single detail yet, but said that Abrams was collaborating with The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, and that Johnson would work with The Rise of Skywalker's then director Colin Trevorrow to ensure a smooth transition and that everybody's got a say in how we move forward with this. Daisy Ridley later recounted that J.J. Abrams had written drafts for episodes 8 and 9. A fictional language was developed for use in the film by YouTube star Sarah Forsberg, who created the viral video series What Languages Sound Like to Foreigners. Forsberg developed the language by studying languages such as Hindi and Gujarati. In November 2015, Lucas recorded an hour-long interview with CBS News reporter Charlie Rose in which he said Disney had not been keen to involve him and conceded, "If I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do. And I don't have the control to do that anymore. And all it would do is just muck everything up." He also said, "They wanted to do a retro movie. I don't like that. Every movie, I worked very hard to make them different. I made them completely different planets, different spaceships to make it new." In early December 2015, Kathleen Kennedy told The Hollywood Reporter that Lucas had seen the movie and liked it. In the same month, at the Kennedy Center Honors, Lucas stated, "I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much the kind of movie they've been looking for." Abrams felt that, as the first in a new trilogy, the film needed to take a couple of steps backwards into very familiar terrain, and use plot elements from previous Star Wars films. In May 2013, it was confirmed that The Force Awakens would be filmed in the United Kingdom this year. Representatives from Lucasfilm met with Chancellor of the Exchequer George Osborne to agree to produce The Force Awakens in the UK. Osborne committed $25 million of public money towards the film, claiming it was a boost for British culture and the film industry. According to production company account filings in the United Kingdom, The Force Awakens ultimately received a total of $31.6 million, $47.4 million from the government. Beginning in September 2013, production spaces at the Bad Robot facility were converted for shooting of The Force Awakens for the benefit of shooting a minor portion of the film in the United States. The film's costume designer was Michael Kaplan, who had previously worked with Abrams on the films Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness. Film editors Mary Ann Brandon and Mary Jo Markey, long-term collaborators with Abrams, were also signed. In August 2013, it was announced that cinematographer Daniel Mindel would be shooting the film on 35mm film, specifically Kodak 5219. In October 2013, other crew members were confirmed, including sound designer Ben Burt, director of photography Daniel Mindel, production designers Rick Carter and Aaron Guilford, costume designer Michael Kaplan, special effects supervisor Chris Corbold, re-recording mixer Gary Rydstrom, supervising sound editor Matthew Wood, visual effects supervisors Roger Guyot, and executive producer Jason McGatlin. Casting began around August 2013, with Abrams meeting with potential actors for script readings and screen tests. Open auditions were held in the UK, Ireland, and the United States in November 2013 for the roles of Rachel and Thomas. Casting began in earnest in January 2014. Because of changes to the script by Kasdan and Abrams, screen tests with actors continued until that least 3 weeks before the official announcement on April 29, 2014, with final casting decisions made only a few weeks earlier. Actors testing had strict non-disclosure agreements, preventing them, their agents or their publicists from commenting on their involvement, though Lucas intimated that previous cast members Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, and Mark Hamill would return for the new film as early as March 2013. Their casting was not confirmed until over a year later. Saoirse Ronan, Michael B. Jordan, and Lupita Nyong'o auditioned for new characters. Industry publications reported Jesse Plemons was considered, possibly for Luke Skywalker's son, Adam Driver for an unnamed villain, and Maisie Richardson Sellers for an unknown character. In March 2014, actor Dominic Monaghan said that Abrams was looking for 3 unknown actors to play the leads in The Force Awakens, and that rumors of bigger name stars were untrue. Daisy Ridley was cast by February 2014, and by the end of that month a deal had been worked out with Driver, who was able to work around his girl's schedule. Talks with Andy Serkis and Oscar Isaac began by March and continued into April. In April, John Boyega began talks after dropping out of a Jesse Owens biopic. Dennis Lawson, who played Wedge Antilles in the original trilogy, declined to reprise his role, saying it would have bored "Hi Monsieur." On April 29, 2014, the cast was announced with a photo of the first table read of the script at Pinewood Studios near London, picturing director Abrams with Ford, Ridley, Fisher, Peter Mayhew, producer Brian Burke, Lucasfilm president and producer Kathleen Kennedy, Donald Gleason, Anthony Daniels, Hamill, Serkis, Oscar Isaac, Boyega, Driver, and writer Lawrence Kasdan. The announcement was originally planned for May 4, Star Wars Day, but was announced early for fear of media leaks. In June 2014, cast additions Lupita Nyong'o and Gwendolyn Christie were announced. To prepare for his role, Hamill was assigned a personal trainer and a nutritionist at the request of the producers, who wanted him to resemble an older Luke. Fisher was also assigned a personal trainer and a nutritionist. Abrams initially considered using Daniels only in a voice role for C-3PO, but Daniels opted to reprise the role physically as well. The production team built a new C-3PO costume to accommodate Hi Monsieur. A flashback scene was cut from Rey's vision, following her discovery of Luke's lightsaber, which would have featured Robert Bolter standing in for Luke as he appeared in his duel with Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. In May, Abrams announced a donation contest for UNICEF from the Star Wars set in Abu Dhabi. The winner was allowed to visit the set, meet members of the cast and appear in the film Monsieur in October 2014. Warwick Davis, who played Wicket in Return of the Jedi, as well as Walden Weasel in The Phantom Menace, announced that he would appear in The Force Awakens, but did not reveal his role. In November 2014, Debbie Reynolds confirmed that her granddaughter, Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, was in the film. Monsieur Isaac's uncle, a Star Wars fan, was cast as an extra at Abrams's invitation upon visiting the set. In December 2015, the Mail reported that Ford would be paid $25 million plus a 0.5% share of the revenue. Ridley and Boyega each would receive $460,000 plus a share if the movie grossed over $1 billion. Fisher received $1.5 million. Abrams was paid $5.1 million plus a 2% share of the revenue. For the original 1977 film, Ford was paid $10,000, equivalent to $42,000 in 2019. In February 2014, Abrams said filming would begin in May and last about 3 months. The official announcement came in March, when Disney and Lucasfilm announced that principal photography would commence in May and be based at Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, England. That month, it was revealed that pre-production filming would take place in Iceland prior to the start of official filming in May, consisting of landscape shots that would be used for scenery in the film Monsieur in April. Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn confirmed that filming had begun. Filming in secret in the United Arab Emirates around Liwa Oasis, part of the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, by a second unit. Later that month, it was revealed that in addition to 35mm film, segments of the film were being shot in the 65mm IMAX format. In July, Bad Robot reported via Twitter that the film would be at least partially shot on IMAX cameras. On May 4, 2014, Star Wars Day, the studio posted a selfie taken by Disney CEO Bob Iger with an unidentified actor in a Chewbacca costume. Iger said the photo was taken when he visited Pinewood Studios 2 weeks earlier to discuss the shoot, which was just about to start. With Abrams, Kennedy, and Horn, principal photography began in Abu Dhabi on May 16, 2014. Abrams and the cast members went to Abu Dhabi in early May, where large sets were built on location, including a shuttle-like spacecraft, a large tower, and a big market stand where explosives were used to create a blast crater. Cast members were spotted practicing driving vehicles that would be used during filming. Production moved to Pinewood Studios in June. That same month, Harrison Ford fractured his leg while filming at Pinewood after a hydraulic door on the Millennium Falcon set fell on him, and was taken to a hospital. According to Abrams, Ford's ankle went to a 90-degree angle. Production was suspended for 2 weeks because of Ford's injury. Ford's son Ben said the ankle would likely need a plate and screws and that filming could be altered slightly, with the crew needing to shoot Ford from the waist up for a short time until he recovered. A month later, Jake Steinfeld, Ford's personal trainer, said Ford was recovering rapidly. Abrams also suffered a fractured vertebra in his back when he was trying to help lift the door after Ford's accident, but he kept this to himself for over a month. In February 2016, it was reported that the health and safety executive brought 4 criminal charges against Disney subsidiary Foodles Production UK Limited for alleged health and safety breaches relating to Ford's accident. Foodles Production UK Limited was subsequently fined $1.95 million in October 2016 for 2 health and safety breaches, after admitting the counts at an earlier hearing. Storyboard artist Simon Durek said, "The security on the film was a challenge. That script was locked in a safe. Most of the time on a film you can sit at your desk with a copy of the script next to you. On this, you couldn't. That's fine, but it was tricky in places. We had people flying drones over Pinewood Studios trying to take photographs. It was nuts. If a prop was being moved, we had to have them covered in a big black sheet. We were told in an email to be of drones." In July 2014, filming took place over 3 days at Skellig Michael, an island off the coast of County Kerry. Ireland, with a cast including Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley. Landscape shots for the planet Takodana were shot in July in the Lake District in the northwest of England. Production was halted for 2 weeks in early August 2014 so Abrams could rework shooting in Ford's absence and resumed with a fully healed Ford in mid-August. In September, the former RAF Greenham Common Military Base in Berkshire was used and featured set constructions of several spaceships. Puzzlewood in the Forest of Dean, Gloucestershire, England, was used for some scenes. Principal photography ended on November 3, 2014. Cinematographer Daniel Mindel said The Force Awakens would use real locations and scale models over computer-generated imagery to make it aesthetically similar to the original Star Wars trilogy. Rian Johnson, director of The Last Jedi, reiterated that Abrams would use little CGI and more practical, traditional special effects, saying, "I think people are coming back around to it. Feels like there is sort of that gravity pulling us back toward it. I think that more and more people are hitting kind of a critical mass in terms of the CG-driven action scene lending itself to a very specific type of action scene, where physics go out the window and it becomes so big so quick." Abrams's intention in prioritizing practical special effects was to recreate the visual realism and authenticity of the original Star Wars. To that end, the droid BB-8 was a physical prop developed by Disney Research, created by special effects artist Neil Scanlon and operated live on set with the actors. In February 2014, Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, announced plans to open a facility in London, citing Disney's Star Wars films as a catalyst for the expansion. ILM's Vancouver branch also worked on the special effects for the film this year. Abrams supervised post-production and editing of the film at Bad Robot Productions headquarters in Santa Monica. In August 2015, he gave the film's estimated running time as 124,125 minutes. Abrams made changes to the film's plot in the editing process to simplify the film by removing some sequences shown in trailers. At one point, Maz used to continue along with the characters back to the Resistance base, but we realized that she really had nothing to do there of value, except to be sitting around. The film was converted to 3D in post-production. John Williams on returning to the Star Wars universe. In July 2013, John Williams was confirmed to compose the score. The music for the film's first 2 trailers was reworked from earlier Williams compositions. He began working on the film in December 2014, and by June 2015 had been through most of the film reels, working on a daily basis. In May 2015, Williams said he would return to themes from the previous films, such as those for Luke, Leia and Han, in ways that will seem very natural and right in the moments for which we've chosen to do these kinds of quotes. There aren't many of them, but there are a few that I think are important and will seem very much a part of the fabric of the piece in a positive and constructive way. He said that working with Abrams was similar to the process he went through with Lucas in the earlier films. Recording sessions for The Force Awakens began in June 2015 at the Sony Pictures Studios' Barbra Streisand scoring stage in Culver City, with William Ross conducting most of the music. The first day of recording was June 1, 2015. Williams attended the sessions and conducted the remainder of the recordings. Williams said the recording process was very luxurious, with 12 sessions scattered over a 5-month period between June and November. The score was recorded by the Hollywood Studio Symphony, a freelance orchestra, with sessions continuing on and off over that 5-month period. The 90-piece orchestra recorded 175 minutes of music, although nearly an hour of that was discarded, modified, or re-recorded as Abrams re-edited the film this year. Williams's theme for Snoke was recorded by a 24-voice men's chorus. Gustavo Dudamel conducted the opening and end title music for the film at Williams's behest. Recording of the score was completed on November 14. 2015. The film's soundtrack was released by Walt Disney Records on December 18. 2015. Williams's score is more than 2 hours long. Lin-Manuel Miranda and Abrams contributed music to the film's cantina scene. Abrams met Miranda at a performance of his Broadway musical Hamilton, where Miranda jokingly offered to compose cantina music, should it be needed. Unknown to Miranda, Williams had previously told Abrams that he did not want to compose the music for that scene, wanting to focus on the orchestral score. Abrams then contacted Miranda, and the two collaborated on the music for the scene over a period of 2 months. South Korean boy band EXO released their song, Lightsaber, in collaboration with the film for its release in their home country on November 11. The promoted track was subsequently released as part of their Sing For You album with a Chinese version, as well as being released in Japanese. Chinese pop singer Lu Han provided the Chinese theme, Inner Force, for the Chinese release of the film this year. Release. Star Wars: The Force Awakens premiered in Los Angeles at the TCL Chinese Theater, El Capitan Theater and Dolby Theater on December 14, 2015. A white tent stretched along Hollywood Boulevard from Orange Drive to Highland Avenue, covering the massive premiere event that hosted more than 5,000 guests. The film was released in 12 countries, including European nations, the Philippines and Thailand on December 16. 32 countries including the United Kingdom, releasing on a Thursday. Mexico and additional European, Asian, African, South American and Oceania countries on December 17, and in North America, Japan, Spain, and Venezuela on December 18, in 3D and IMAX 3D. It was released in India on December 25 and in China on January 9, 2016. In North America, it had the widest release of December across 4,134 theaters, of which 3,300 were 3D locations, a record 392 IMAX screens, 451 premium large format screens, 146 D-Box locations, as well as releasing in the Dolby Vision format, High Dynamic Range, Rec. 2020 color, in Dolby Cinema. Worldwide, it was released across 940 IMAX theaters, a new record. On December 18, 2015, the film began playing on every IMAX screen in North America for 4 straight weeks up to January 14, 2016. This made it the first film since Warner Bros. The Hobbit trilogy to receive such a release. The film finally shed some of its IMAX screens with the release of The Revenant in the finest hours in mid-January 2016. On November 6, 2014, the film's title was announced as Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Similarly to The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Episode 7 was included in the film's opening crawl. In December 2015, Pablo Hidalgo, the creative executive at the Lucasfilm Story Group, which handles all the canonical continuity for the Star Wars universe, revealed that the working title for the film was Shadow of the Empire. For the longest time, advance ticket sales for the film began on October 19, 2015, and were in strong demand, resulting in online movie ticket sites crashing. View Cinemas, the United Kingdom's third-largest theatre chain, sold 45,000 tickets in 24 hours, 10,000 of which were sold in 90 minutes, a record for the theatre. In the United States, the film pre-sold a record-breaking $6.5 million worth of IMAX ticket sales on a single day. IMAX has never previously registered more than $1 million in pre-sales on a single day. In total it sold over $50 million in pre-sales, breaking the record. This number was raised to $100 million, including $5,060 million in advance ticket sales by December 14. However, not all tickets that were pre-sold were for the film's opening weekend, with Fandango president Paul Yanova saying, "People have set aside tickets for screenings in January. Weeks after the big opening, we have people buying Star Wars into 2016. It's not just an opening weekend phenomenon. Similarly, the film broke pre-sales records in the UK, Canada, and Germany. The film is the first live-action Star Wars film not to be released theatrically by 20th Century Fox. Accordingly, the film is not introduced with either the company's logo or its signature fanfare composed by Alfred Newman. Instead, the film is the first in the series to be distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. Shortly following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, the studio had indicated that the then untitled film would be released under the Disney Lucasfilm branding, similar to the branding used for Star Wars Rebels, and akin to the Disney-Pixar co-branding of Pixar-produced films released by Walt Disney Pictures. Ultimately, Disney's logo was largely absent from the film's marketing but nonetheless appeared on merchandise and the start-up sequences of Star Wars smartphone games, and the film is presented with only Lucasfilm's production logo shown silently before the main titles. Disney chairman Bob Iger explained the change by saying it was for the fans. Disney backed The Force Awakens with extensive marketing campaigns. On November 28, 2014, Lucasfilm released an 88-second teaser trailer. It was screened in selected cinemas across the United States and Canada and in theaters worldwide. In December 2014, it was also released on YouTube and the iTunes Store, generating a record 58.2 million views on YouTube in its first week. Critics compared the brief footage favorably to the production values of the original trilogy. The Hollywood Reporter called the trailer perfectly potent nostalgia, praising its mix of old and new. Empire was impressed by the continuity with the first films, the feel of classic Star Wars, but noted the absence of Hamill, Ford, and Fisher and speculated about the significance of the new characters. The Guardian wrote that the use of the Star Wars fanfare by John Williams reinforced brand loyalty among fans. On December 11, 2014, Abrams and Kennedy released a series of 8 mock-tops trading cards revealing the names of several characters. On April 16, 2015, a second teaser trailer, this one lasting 2 minutes, was shown at the opening panel at the Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, California. Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy said the reaction to the trailer was staggering. The entire room of almost 8,000 people just leapt to their feet and roared. I mean, I can't think of anything I've ever been to other than a rock concert that felt quite like that. The trailer was viewed over 88 million times within the first 24 hours of release, breaking the record. According to the Guinness World Records, the second teaser trailer amassed 30.65 million in 24 hours, setting a new world record for the most viewed movie trailer on YouTube in 24 hours. The event was broadcast live by Verizon on YouTube, StarWars.com, and in movie theaters. The trailer shows many of the new characters and the first footage of Chewbacca and Han Solo. The Huffington Post's Graham Milne wrote that the trailer was an affirmation of something that we'd long been told was never going to happen. This was a gift. This was faith rewarded. About damn time. Vanity Fair was the first magazine to release an exclusive cover issue devoted to The Force Awakens. The magazine, released on May 7, 2015, featured exclusive interviews and photos of the cast photographed by Annie Leibovitz at the 2015 San Diego Comic-Con International. In addition to a panel with many of the actors, a behind-the-scenes look at the film demonstrated the film's use of practical sets and effects. It was positively received, with Nigel Massier-Smith of The Guardian writing, "The featurette's angle is a strong one and connects with fans of the original trilogy in an incredibly poignant way. It also does a sly job of teasing Fisher's new look as Leia and Simon Pegg's mysterious involvement as a rumored alien in the movie, without actually showing the actors in action." Smith compared the marketing strategy for the film to that of a previous Abrams film, Super 8, saying, "The promos are notable for what they tease, not what they give away." Walt Disney Studios and Lucasfilm presented a look at The Force Awakens at Disney's D23 Expo in August 2015. Drew Struzanno designed the poster artwork for the previous Star Wars films, produced a commemorative poster given to the event's attendees. In October 2015, Lucasfilm unveiled the theatrical release poster and a third trailer. The poster omitted Luke Skywalker and revealed a Death Star-like orb. The trailer debuted during the halftime break of Monday Night Football, before being released online. The reaction to the trailer by fans on social media was frenzied, with Liz Zimber of the BBC writing that perhaps the most significant thing about the final trailer before the film's release is how little of the story it reveals. Robbie Collin of the Daily Telegraph felt the trailer was a perfect blend of old and new, in keeping with the old-fashioned Star Wars aesthetic. The trailer received 128 million views in 24 hours. A new record for the most views of a trailer in 24 hours. 16 million of the views came from its airing on Monday Night Football. At the end of October, Air France announced a flight and cinema package, providing customers who book select flights to Paris transportation to a theater to see the film. Since France is one of the first countries to release the film this year on November 6, a Japanese trailer for the film was released. After seeing the new trailer, Forbes' Oli Bardi stated the trailer gave him hope that the film would not let us all down like the prequels did, a worthwhile story this time. On November 23, a partnership with Google was announced, in which Google users could choose to affiliate themselves with either the dark or light side, which would change the appearance of their Google websites. Additionally, Disney teamed up with Verizon to create a virtual reality experience for Google Cardboard. On December 17, 2015, select theaters across North America aired a Star Wars marathon, airing the 6 previous Star Wars episode films in 2D, followed by The Force Awakens in 3D. Attendees received a special lanyard featuring exclusive marathon art. Disney Publishing Worldwide and Lucasfilm announced a series of at least 20 books and comics. Journey to Star Wars: The Force Awakens, with releases from multiple publishers starting in late 2015. Prior to the film's premiere, the series includes books by Del Rey and Disney Lucasfilm publishers and comic books from Marvel Comics. All titles under the program are canonical to the Star Wars universe. Alan Dean Foster wrote a novelization of The Force Awakens which was released in ebook form on December 18. In an effort to avoid revealing plot details before the film's release, the print release of the novelization was delayed until January 2016. Marvel Comics published a 6-issue comic book adaptation of The Force Awakens between June and November 2016. Disney Consumer Products and Lucasfilm announced that September 4, 2015 would be deemed Force Friday, and would be the official launch of all the merchandise for The Force Awakens. Beginning at 12:01 a.m., fans could buy toys, books, clothing and various other products at Disney stores and other retailers throughout the world. Disney and Maker Studios hosted an 18-hour live streaming presentation on YouTube, showcasing multiple merchandise products beginning on September 3, 2015. Among these products were a remote-controlled BB-8 developed by Sphero. Sphero had participated in a Disney-run startup accelerator in July 2014, where they were invited into a private meeting with Disney CEO Bob Iger, in which they were shown on-set photos and imagery of BB-8 before its public unveiling. Many retailers were unable to meet demand for Star Wars products. The Force Awakens is the first Star Wars film to not have a direct tie-in game to accompany it. Instead, select characters, scenes and/or locations from the film became part of other Star Wars video games, as described below. Eventually, the film got a full LEGO video game adaptation, titled LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which was released by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment for Android, iOS, Microsoft Windows, Nintendo 3DS, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Wii U, Xbox 360 and Xbox One in the summer of 2016. In addition to fully adapting the film, the game includes bonus levels that take place a few years before the events of the film this year. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment released Star Wars: The Force Awakens via download and Disney Movies Anywhere on April 1, 2016, with a Blu-ray and DVD release on April 5. The home media release contains additional footage, as with the videodisc releases of all of the first 6 films in the saga. The videodisc release of The Force Awakens splits the film into 50 chapters. On March 23, 2016, the film was leaked online prior to its original Blu-ray release and was downloaded more than 2 million times in 12 hours. In January 2016, it was confirmed that Starz would hold the U.S. premium television rights for The Force Awakens, having been released just before the end of Starz's output deal covering most Disney-released films, which includes releases through the end of 2015. The Force Awakens began broadcasting on all Starz networks on September 10, 2016. The equivalent rights in Canada were held by Netflix. A Blu-ray 3D collector's edition of the film was released on November 15, 2016, including all the features of the original home releases, as well as several new bonus features, including new deleted scenes and audio commentary by Abrams. The package includes a Blu-ray 3D, regular Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copy of the film, as well as an additional Blu-ray disc for the bonus features. The Force Awakens was released in 4K HDR and Dolby Atmos on the Walt Disney Company's streaming service, Disney Plus, on November 12, 2019. This version of the film was released in the Skywalker Saga 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray box set on March 31, 2020. Reception. Star Wars: The Force Awakens grossed $936.7 million in the United States and Canada, and $1.132 billion in other countries for a worldwide total of $2.068 billion. Box Office Mojo estimates that the film sold close to 110 million tickets in North America, the most tickets sold by any film in North America since Titanic in 1997. 128 million. The Force Awakens earned 8.6% of the total 2015 releases in North America, second only to the 8.8% of the box office earned by Titanic in 1997. The film is the highest-grossing film of 2015, the highest-grossing film in the franchise, surpassing The Phantom Menace, the second highest-grossing film released by Walt Disney Studios, the highest-grossing film in North America, dethroning Avatar, and the fourth highest-grossing film of all time, when adjusted for inflation. It also stands as the 10th highest-grossing film in cinematic history, with a worldwide gross of $2.103 billion. It was the 24th film in cinematic history to gross $1 billion worldwide, standing as the fastest film to surpass the mark at the time, doing so in 12 days. Avengers: Infinity War later did so in 11 days. It was also the third film in history to surpass $2 billion worldwide, doing so on its 53rd day of release. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $780.1 million, when factoring together all expenses and revenues for the film, making it the most profitable film of 2015 and the most profitable film in the last 7 years. The Force Awakens was released in the United States and Canada on December 18, 2015. It made a record-breaking $57 million from Thursday night previews, of which IMAX screenings generated a record-breaking $5.7 million from 391 screens. On its opening day, the film grossed $119.1 million, marking the biggest single and opening day record and the first time a film has earned more than $100 million in a single day. Without Thursday night grosses, the film earned the second largest opening day gross, $62.1 million. In total, it earned a record $247,966,675, surpassing the original Sunday weekend estimate of $238 million by almost $10 million. For its opening weekend, from around 14,400 screens at 4,134 theaters, for an average of $59,982 per theater, or $17,220 per screen. The debut was 19% bigger than the previous record holder, Marvel's The Avengers, $207 million, and Jurassic World, $208 million. The opening weekend figure included an IMAX opening weekend record of $30.1 million, 12.65%, from 391 IMAX theaters, which nearly amounts to the $252.5 million total earned by Return of the Jedi, second lowest grossing film in the series in its original run, minus the $57 million it earned from Thursday previews. The film earned $190.8 million on straight Friday to Sunday, giving it an average of $63.6 million per day. 2D screenings accounted for 53% of the total opening gross, while 3D accounted for 47%. Real D3D comprised $78 million of the opening gross, setting a new record. Other records set by the film include the biggest weekend per theater average for a wide release, $59,982 per theater from 4,134 theaters. Biggest holiday opening, biggest PG-13 rated opening, and biggest December opening. The opening weekend audience was evenly split among those under and over the age of 25, with 58% of the audience male, 71% adults, 20% families and 9% teenagers. Internationally, the film was released in over 30,000 screens. It opened on December 16, 2015 in 12 international markets and earned $14.1 million on its opening day. Debuting at first place in all of them this year, it expanded in an additional 42 countries on December 17, generating $58.6 million for a two-day international total of $72.7 million. Reaching first place in all 44 markets, it grossed a total of $129.5 million in 3 days after adding $56.8 million on its third day. Topped the daily box office in all countries except for South Korea and Vietnam, where it was the second, and set a new midnight record in the United Kingdom with $3.6 million. It broke opening day records in the UK, Ireland and Malta, $14.3 million, Germany, $7.1 million, Australia, $6.8 million, Sweden, $1.7 million, Norway, $1.1 million, and in 16 other countries. Other markets which generated large opening days were Spain, $3.5 million, Mexico, $3.4 million, Italy, $3.1 million, and Japan, $3 million. After the 5 days, The Force Awakens had a total international opening gross of $281 million from 30,000 screens in 72 markets. A new record for December opening and the third biggest international opening of all time. International markets generating opening weekend tallies of at least $10 million were the United Kingdom, Ireland and Malta, $50.6 million, Germany, $27.5 million, France, $22.5 million, Australia, $19.6 million, and Japan, $13.4 million, and Russia, $12.3 million. The film had the biggest opening of all time in 18 countries including the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Russia and Sweden. IMAX generated $17.9 million from 276 IMAX theaters. After 5 days, The film had a total worldwide opening record of $529 million from 74 territories, which was the biggest worldwide opening at that time, making it only the second time in cinematic history after Jurassic World that a film had opened to more than $500 million globally. This included an IMAX opening record of $48 million. Revenues in the film's second weekend decreased by only 39.8% in the United States and Canada, earning $149.2 million, to remain in first place at the box office and recording the biggest second weekend of all time. Revenues from IMAX dipped slightly, generating $19 million in its second weekend, for a record total of over $70 million in 10 days. Internationally, the film had a steeper decline in its second weekend, falling 51% to $136.9 million. Of the notable major markets, the film had an unsuccessful opening in India, where it opened third against two local blockbusters, with a mere $1.51 million. As of February 21, the largest markets outside of the United States and Canada are the United Kingdom, $180.7 million, China, $124.5 million, Germany, $109.7 million, Japan, $92.6 million, and France, $88.2 million. The Force Awakens crossed the $1 billion mark on the 12th day of its general release, December 26, 2015, making it the fastest film to reach this mark at that time. It became the 24th film grossing more than $1 billion worldwide, and the fifth film of 2015 to do so, making 2015 the first year to have 5 films gross more than $1 billion. The film experienced another decrease in revenue in its third weekend, dropping 39.5% to $90.2 million domestically, remaining in first place at the box office, to set a third weekend record. On January 2, after just 16 days of release, it became the second film, following Avatar, to gross over $700 million in North America, and on January 6 became the highest-grossing film of all time domestically, doing so in 20 days. By January 8, it became the highest-grossing film of all time in the United Kingdom and Ireland after only 22 days on release. On January 9, it became the first film in cinematic history to cross $800 million domestically unadjusted for inflation, and in the same weekend set a Saturday to Sunday opening weekend record for the studio in China, with $52.6 million. On January 17, 2016, it passed the $1 billion mark overseas, becoming the first film of Disney, the third film of 2015 and the fifth film overall to achieve this feat. It topped the international box office chart for 5 consecutive weekends, becoming the first film since Avengers: Age of Ultron to have 5 straight wins, before being dethroned by The Revenant in its 6th weekend. In Japan, it topped the box office for 6 straight weekends. On February 5, the 50th day of release, The Force Awakens became the first film to earn over $900 million, unadjusted for inflation, in the United States and Canada. On the following day, it became the third film in cinematic history to pass $2 billion in ticket sales worldwide, after Titanic and Avatar, and the second in original release. After Avatar, it became the third film to earn over $600 million in Europe. In North America and the United Kingdom and Ireland, it fell outside of the top 10 for the first time in its 11th weekend during the weekend, February 26-28, 2016, and in the US it did not achieve $1 million in ticket sales for the first time in its 14th weekend, with a production budget of $306 million, plus $175 million for marketing, printing and advertising costs. The Force Awakens was predicted to be a major box office success. The cost of the film was subsidized by $31.6 million $47 million United States dollars. From the UK Film Incentive Programme this year total costs, after accounting for profit participations, production and distribution of home videos, as well as other ancillary mediums, is expected to run $423 million. Reports in April 2015 from The Hollywood Reporter and Amboe Brand Intelligence predicted the film would earn up to $540 million worldwide for its opening, breaking the record for the biggest worldwide opening, as well as breaking the record for the biggest US opening. They believe that The Force Awakens would have the widest release ever, across 4,500 theaters in North America. Instead, it received a total of 4,134 theaters, and had a widest December opening. Box office analyst Phil Contrino likened the film to Avatar 2009, which opened to $77 million in North America and went on to earn $2.8 billion worldwide, saying The Force Awakens would earn $1 billion without blinking, and could gross $2 billion. In August 2015, Deadline Hollywood predicted an opening weekend of $615 million worldwide could be possible, including a $300 million opening in North America. In November, box office analysts reported opening weekend projections were at $175,250 million. In December, Capital analyst Barton Crockett suggested that the film will be the first to gross over $3 billion worldwide at the box office. Analysts said that the box office receipts of the film, when compared to predecessors, must be adjusted for inflation, and that the first Star Wars film made more when this adjustment is made. It has further been observed that each of the first 3 films in the series was more profitable. In calculating revenue against production costs, box office analyst Paul Dergarabedian said that while Avatar and The Force Awakens were both released on the same date of December 18, higher ticket prices in 2015 and IMAX screenings could push Star Wars into the box office stratosphere. On December 23, Mark Hughes of Forbes stated that The Force Awakens had matched the most optimistic projections for its opening, and he predicted that The Force Awakens would likely surpass Titanic as the second highest grossing film of all time. He commented that The Force Awakens could catch Avatar as the top-grossing film of all time, but only if it managed to avoid major week-to-week declines in ticket sales. By January 13, analysts concluded that it was unlikely that The Force Awakens would surpass Avatar's global gross. While The Force Awakens was very successful in North America, the same success was not witnessed in many overseas individual markets such as Germany, India, Latin America, and parts of Asia. One cited reason for this is that overseas audiences do not have the same nostalgia or affinity for the film as those in the US. The Star Wars franchise has traditionally lacked resonance with filmgoers in China, and marketing for The Force Awakens heavily focused on appealing to that market. Pamela McClintock of The Hollywood Reporter stated that, for these territories, Star Wars doesn't have the same legacy as it does in North America and more mature markets. It's also a faster burn, meaning it likely won't stay in theaters as long as Avatar did. Dergarabedian said, as in all box office trajectories, the higher the altitude, the tougher it becomes to rack up sales at the kind of breakneck pace as in the beginning of the run. Nancy Tartaglione of Deadline.com argued that, if accounting for its 40/60th domestic to international split, The Force Awakens did well overseas. Avatar did well internationally because of its novelty. The marketing campaign advertising it as showcasing the newest 3D technology that can only be fully appreciated in the theaters, and because of its extended time in overseas theaters. While The Force Awakens had appeal with its special effects, analysts feel that it lacked the novelty factor. They also cite that its gross was stilted due to markets making way for new films sooner than was previously done. Films do not play in overseas theaters as long as they did back when Avatar was released. Dergarabedian stated, no matter what, is an absolute, all-out blockbuster without peer in terms of the sheer speed at which it has crossed all of these major box office milestones. Moreover, Mike Fleming of Deadline.com argued that the movie was the most valuable movie of the year, with the net profit to Disney an astounding $923 million, and the cash-on-cash return twice that of any other film, at 2.31. Star Wars: The Force Awakens received overwhelmingly positive reviews from critics. On review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% approval rating based on 430 reviews, with an average rating of 8.27/10. The website's critical consensus reads, "Packed with action and populated by both familiar faces and fresh blood, The Force Awakens successfully recalls the series' former glory while injecting it with renewed energy." On Metacritic, the film has a score of 80 out of 100, based on 55 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. Women under 25s and under 18s gave it an A+, while 98% of audiences gave it either an A or a B. Filmgoers polled by PostTrack gave the film an 88% definite recommend, while 96% said it met or exceeded their expectations. Robbie Collin of the Daily Telegraph said the film sets out to shake Star Wars from its slumber and reconnect the series with its much-pined-for past, that it achieves this both immediately and joyously is perhaps the single greatest relief of the movie-going year. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian said that it was both a narrative progression from the earlier three films and a shrewdly affectionate next-gen reboot, ridiculous and melodramatic and sentimental of course, but exciting and brimming with energy and its own kind of generosity. Variety's Justin Chang wrote that the film has sufficient style, momentum, love and care to prove irresistible to any who have ever considered themselves fans. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times described it as a beautiful, thrilling, joyous, surprising, and heart-thumping adventure. Tom Long of the Detroit News wrote that though some may find the film too similar to the original Star Wars, it leaves the ungainly and unneeded clumsiness of the subsequent prequels far behind. The energy, humor and simplicity of direction been recaptured. The Associated Press called it basically the same as the original film. Isn't that what we all wanted anyway? Quote, Anne Hornaday, writing for the Washington Post, thought the film had be enough novelty to create yet another cohort of die-hard fans. The Force Awakens strikes all the right chords, emotional and narrative, to feel both familiar and exhilaratingly new. Christopher Orr, writing in The Atlantic, called the film a mashup masterpiece that may be completely derivative but is a delight nonetheless. The Charlotte Observer's Lawrence Topman said Abrams had pulled off a delicate balancing act, paying clever homage to the past. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle gave the film his highest rating and called it the best Star Wars sequel yet and one of the best films of 2015. Frank Pallotta, reviewing the film for CNN Money, found it was the best Star Wars film since the original trilogy and that it is bound to be a film experience long remembered by fans and non-fans alike. Jack Bottomley, writing for Starburst, awarded the film a 10 out of 10 score, saying, "From old joys to fresh twists, this is a unique blockbuster experience that celebrates the franchise whilst also expanding it." Certain critics found The Force Awakens derivative of the original Star Wars trilogy, some expressing their opinion that the film was essentially a remake of A New Hope. Andrew O'Hare wrote for Salon that it was the work of a talented mimic or ventriloquist who can just about cover for the fact that he has nothing much to say. Stephanie Zacharek of Time wrote that Abrams had delivered everything we expect, as opposed to those nebulous wonders we didn't know we wanted. Reviewing for Forbes, Scott Mendelson cited the film's top-tier production values and a strong sense of scale and scope, but felt it was so much an exercise in fan service it is only due to the charisma and talent of Our newbies and J.J. Abrams' undeniable skill as a visual storyteller that the Mad Libs narrative doesn't outright destroy the picture. Brian Merchant of Motherboard wrote that science fiction is supposed to be all about exploring the unexplored, not rehashing the well-trod. One of the most unabashedly creative enterprises of the 20th century has been rendered in a largely enjoyable, but mostly forgettable Hollywood reboot. RogerEbert.com's Gerardo Valero went as far as to accuse the film of plagiarizing A New Hope and resorting to nostalgia. He felt that it didn't return to the universe from not having an original story of its own to tell in the plot, characters, and musical score, negatively comparing it to George Lucas's prequel trilogy, and that some of its climactic moments felt unearned. In an interview with journalist Charlie Rose that aired on December 24, 2015, Lucas likened his decision to sell Lucasfilm to Disney to a divorce and outlined the creative differences between him and the producers of The Force Awakens. Lucas described the previous Star Wars films as his children and criticized the retro feel of The Force Awakens, saying, "I worked very hard to make completely different, with different planets, with different spaceships, you know, to make it new." Lucas also likened Disney to white slavers, which drew some criticism. He subsequently apologized. In a 2019 memoir, Disney chairman Bob Iger said that George Lucas couldn't even hide his disappointment towards J.J. Abrams' interpretation. According to Iger, Lucas said, "There's nothing new after seeing the film," and that there weren't enough visual or technical leaps forward. Lucas liked more the Rian Johnson directed and written sequel The Last Jedi and the anthology film Rogue One. Several awards held their nominations before the December release of The Force Awakens, making the film ineligible for the 73rd Golden Globe Awards and some other awards ceremonies. However, the film was added to the 21st Critics' Choice Awards' slate of Best Picture nominees after a special vote by the Board of Directors, and the announcement of the 2015 American Film Institute Awards was delayed until after the release of The Force Awakens, where it was named one of top 10 films of the year. The film received 5 Academy Award nominations at the 88th Academy Awards, including Best Original Score, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, Best Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects. The film garnered 4 nominations at the 69th British Academy Film Awards for Best Original Music, Best Sound, and Best Production Design, including 2 wins, one for Best Special Visual Effects and a BAFTA Rising Star Award for John Boyega. It was nominated for Best Picture at the 2016 Critics' Choice Awards. The film received 7 Visual Effects Society Awards nominations, winning 4, including Outstanding Visual Effects in an Effects-Driven Feature Motion Picture. It received the most nominations at the 21st Empire Awards, including Best Film, Best Sci-Fi Fantasy Film, Best Director for J.J. Abrams, Best Male Newcomer for John Boyega, and Best Female Newcomer for Daisy Ridley. It became the most nominated film in Saturn Award history with a total of 13 nominations at their 42nd Saturn Awards, where it won in 8 categories, including Best Science Fiction Film, Best Writing, Best Actor for Ford, Best Supporting Actor for Driver, Best Music, Best Special Effects, Best Editing, and Best Makeup. Daisy Ridley and John Boyega each received several nominations and accolades for their performances. They were nominated as Best Newcomers at various critics' circle and associations, including the Alliance of Women Film Journalists and the Florida Film Critics Circle. The Force Awakens received 11 nominations at the MTV Movie Awards, the most for the ceremony, including Movie of the Year, Best Female Performance for Ridley, Best Breakthrough Performance for Boyega, and Best Virtual Performance for Lupita Nyong'o and Andy Serkis. In addition to several awards and nominations, The Force Awakens appeared on various critics' lists of the 10 best films of 2015. Sequels. Rian Johnson confirmed in August 2014 that he would direct Episode 8, later titled The Last Jedi. It was released on December 15, 2017. Some second unit filming took place in September 2015 in Ireland, with principal photography beginning in February 2016 at Pinewood Studios. Hamill, Fisher, Driver, Ridley, Boyega, Isaac, Serkis, Nyong'o, Gleeson, Daniels, Christie, V, and Sue Otamo reprised their roles in the film, and are joined by Kelly Marie Tran, Laura Dern, and Benicio del Toro. The Rise of Skywalker was released on December 20, 2019. Abrams directed the film and co-wrote it with Chris Terrio. Hamill, Fisher, Driver, Ridley, Boyega, Isaac, Daniels, Nyong'o, Christie, Sue Otamo, and Tran reprised their roles in the film, and are joined by Naomi Ackie and Kerry Russell. Billy D. Williams and Ian McDermott returned from the original trilogy as Lando Calrissian and Palpatine, respectively. References. Footnote citations.